First off, I would like to invite Bunji Elcoate to join me up here, please. Bunji is a third-generation Territorian, travelled a long way to be with us. She is a multidisciplinary artist who works in community and education contexts. She won the CCD Young Leaders Award in 2007. Please make her feel welcome.
Wrong slideshow. Okay, I'll leave that with the techies. Ready to go? Where do I point this thing?
Let's hear it for Bunji.
I would like to acknowledge the Stony Creek Nation as the traditional owners of this beautiful place. I would also like to pay my respects to our elders present and to the Larrakia people whose country encompasses the city of Darwin, where my family has lived for 4 generations. Those generations have come through the bombing of Darwin and several cyclones and proudly called the top end of Australia home. I would also like to acknowledge all the First Australians who have taught my family language, shared stories, culture, given us skin names and made us part of their community. You would find no greater example of resilience in community and cultural preservation and development than that of our First Australians, who in the Northern Territory make up 31% of our relatively small population of 227,000. Through my family, in particular my grandfather, Ted Egan, an Australian historian and folk singer-songwriter, and through my life and work I've had great opportunity of learning and valuing many things about the different Indigenous cultures throughout Australia. Having a grandfather that has celebrated the many multifaceted faces of Australian folk through story and song have greatly influenced my decision to continue work in community and cultural development. This is a photo of my daughter, but it could have easily have been me 30, or almost 25 years ago. Working in your hometown means that you constantly make connections and re-establish old family relationships with the people you are working with. It is wonderful and to be treasured. While working on a project in a juvenile detention centre, I would often make connections, such as realising that I play rugby union with project participants' aunties and sisters, or that our grandfathers played footy together. More recently, I've made connections with people staying in the long grass that are from Yuendamu and Bathurst Island, where my grandfather was posted in the 1950s. Because of his relationship with the community, he was given a skin name, which in turn means I have a skin name, and a relationship with people in the camp. It gives you family connection straight away. This really changes the dynamic of your work and gives you a special energy in which to build your community arts from. So this is from that project, and here are my Francis Bunji Nakamara Elcoate, and Natalie Nungarai Colby, and Lorna Gurawiwi. And Natalie's my daughter, and Lorna's my sister-in-law. Having a supportive family and strong connections to your community have helped shape my work and sense of identity. My CCD journey started with Big Heart, Tasmania company you should be very proud of, in 2000. Big Heart was working on a project in Darwin called Wrong Way Go Back. I was 21, a year out from graduating from a Bachelor of Creative Arts, majoring in graphic design and media from the University of Wollongong. I was doing a bit of work for them, putting together some promotional material, when I impulsively suggested that young people in the Juvenile Detention Centre be included in the upcoming performance by creating a series of animations. As Big Heart culture goes, they were very supportive and helped me put my first successful funding proposal together. The animations were a huge success, and off the back of that, Big Heart supported a 3-year project working with youth at risk and young offenders aimed at bridging the digital divide by providing multimedia workshops and mentoring where young people created songs, installations, animations, and community service announcements for TV and radio, short films, music, stories, and digital images that led to many awards. The project was named Enough Stuff. One of the project aims is to also support people to continue to be involved once they were released. This was easy for young people in town, but for people in regional areas, we had to work on building strong networks so that we could find other services we could link in with, do workshops with, and look at partnerships with. Enough Stuff ran for 3 years. At the end of the project, we continued to work by creating a certified multimedia training course called the Deadly Digital Media Project. This was delivered in the Dondale Juvenile Detention Centre, as well as on Bathurst Island, Tennant Creek and Ingrid Island. We also worked hard to form relationships with other youth arts organisations in Katherine and Alice Springs. In different ways, I still follow up on these programs by sending out additional copies of people's work to them or their families, visiting people in prisons to see ways that they can continue multimedia training, or just catching up with for a coffee and giving them some more networks so they can continue their creative work. Darwin is a changing place, from a sleepy frontier town to a modern multicultural regional hub. This emerging city faces many challenges, such as a major housing shortage, and also provides many opportunities that come with this growth. This means that work as a credit producer or multimedia artist, I have worked with people in prisons and detention centres, as well as in social justice in the wider community, working with schools, youth at risk, Defence Force families, young carers, people with mental illness, young people with disabilities, and the elderly, and to my current project, Arts in the Grass, Long Grass Arts Program. Darwin has a rich and multicultural heritage and culture, which means that I also have worked with different multicultural groups and recent refugees. The Northern Territory has provided many opportunities for me to work with different communities and in multidisciplinary forms. This is an image of Nicholas James Mario and Sonia Josephine Fernando, known as the Lady Swan, who are long-grass artists. I didn't have to teach these guys to paint. Their grandparents taught them all the beautiful skills that you can see there. But Nicholas hadn't painted for about 15 years, so it was about giving him the tools to be able to reignite that passion for his art and his culture. Darwin is a regional centre to many Aboriginal communities throughout the NT. People in prisons come from all over the NT, and many people have to leave their communities to come into Darwin for medical services. We have a very transient population. Creating a successful community arts project in the NT also means nurturing really good regional partnerships. This has enabled me to do follow-up workshops around the NT and establish a range of training opportunities for participants as part of a successful legacy strategy. Working in remote communities can be extremely rewarding and challenging. Coming in as an outsider can be difficult. Establishing good working relationships can be hard, as you are often only in the community for a short time. Many of the communities I've worked in have had problems with too many visitors. People who fly in, fly out, and don't stay on the ground to get the job done. Retention of staff, particularly teachers, is a major issue in Aboriginal communities across the NT. I think if you want to make an impact in the community, you need to have a sense of vocation. Invest the time in building relationships, learn the language and the customs. Some of the most successful and high quality community art projects I've seen come out of remote Aboriginal communities have been 10 or more years in the making. This is an image of Sister Manuel, who first came to the community of Wadare in 1946 and worked with the local community to develop a written language that they speak there. And I quote, "People were pretty apprehensive at first, saying that they'll teach their kids the local language and asking me to stick to teaching English in the classroom. But after a while, I think most people understood that the language needed to be written to be preserved." This sense of vocation is inspiring. She's still there today and reads in the language to the kids every day at school. Then there's those golden moments in your work, when a project participant shows a great sense of pride or achievement. These moments fill you up and should be documented so that when you're feeling low on energy, you can recall them. I recall this golden moment recently when I went to visit long grass artist Eric Wesley and asked, "Why do you cry? Do you need glasses?" Thinking I might be able to help him get to the clinic. "No," he replied. "My father was with me." He's the uncle interrupts. What he's trying to say is that when we paint, our ancestors are with us, in us. It is them who paints. He, Eric, must cry when he paints to let the spirits out. I wasn't expecting to have that special moment then. Another time, almost 8 years ago, in a songwriting workshop working with young detainees, a young man told me that he did not believe in himself. He thought he could not read and write. Through songwriting workshops, working with the great artist Shelley Morris, and music, he found that he could write beautifully, and one of his songs was picked up by Triple J. He was thrilled. It changed the course of his life. He told me he found new ways to express himself. He could put it on the page instead of using his fists. He had to serve 6 years, and in that time he completed a certificate too in multimedia and a certificate in contemporary music. Now on the outside, he continues his craft. This is an interesting image to show from a shoemaking workshop I did. I've learned so many skills through my almost now career in community arts. Ability to multi-skill and set and keep deadlines is honed. The importance for renewal and professional development is needed to keep pace, stay focused, and reignite your passion. I found that it's important to do both business and creative skills development as part of your commitment towards your own professional development. This time has given me the ability to reflect and fill up my cup. I'm going way over time, so I'm just going to skip a few. I used to get very upset when I did not get funding. It took me a while to realise that you should not put all your eggs in one basket. It's good to wait for some project proposals to become timely. Patience is something that I had to learn. Sometimes you put your ideas out there and it takes community groups a long time to gather direction and put together a well-supported funding proposal. It took me a while to figure out that this is better than rushing. An organisation or group that approaches me with a strong proposal and a good community support and eager participants that have helped shape the project direction are the ideal groups to work with, because you know everybody is ready. Self-belief and sense of purpose grow as you tackle each project and reflect on what works. Having awards such as the Australia Council's Young Leaders Award are great ways to acknowledge people's dedication to this field. I'm very appreciative to the Australia Council and to the people that I worked with that nominated me. It was very timely as I was about to give birth to my second child and had no maternity leave, as I'd always worked on short-term contracts. This lack of job security means that we often lose very skilled community arts practitioners to other industries, especially women having families. We still have a long way to go in recognising the special nurturing role that many women take on in this field of community arts and cultural development, and I'm not sure if recent policy proposals on maternity leave will provide much support for this for women in our field. Appreciating that your work has a life beyond the acquittal is important to include in your list of achievements. I get immense pleasure and sense of satisfaction from seeing the legacy of my CCD work. This is from a pilot project that we did in 2006. I wasn't successful in lobbying the government to continue it, but luckily within 12 months of this project, the Darwin Community Arts Association took over this space. And now every time they have a show or a workshop in there, I get that lovely feeling inside. So thank you very much.